Hello there, guys.
Which one are we reading first one?
Yeah, so, we're just about to start the Alcon feedback panel.
Which one you want to read first one? This one. If this goes, it's your fault.
How are you guys feeling this morning?
Actually, you can hear me without the bloody microphone, to be fair. How are you all feeling this morning?
Pretty good.
Yeah. So, this is a bit... You know what? You guys got the microphone, I'm just going to speak. If you can hear my voice. So, yeah, we want to hear your feedback. We want to hear how we can make this event better for you. Because at the end of the day, you know, this is your event.
Hang on.
Is there
a ticket system? Because we got a lot of questions.
Oh, excellent. Okay, let's get going.
Okay, so I'm going to come over to you, sir. And is something you'd like to ask the committee? Okay, yes.
This is a feedback about the VIP gala. I think it went really well this year. One comment I made before was I think they need to be more smaller and more personal. So this year, even though it wasn't planned like that, just having us sit down around the table with the guests, maybe giving us a few prompts, but letting us basically find our own fun. I think that's the way to do it. It's less structured, but as a result, people get to spend more time with the VIPs, which I think is more valuable than another stage event, if that makes any sense.
Yeah, well, I mean, you know, you appreciate that, you know, that you like the changes that you made there. It was a bit of a difficult one trying to decide whether we should change the format in that way.
I will apologise for it being late. It was me, myself and Stephen trying to balance setting up a band and setting up in there as well onto our speakers.
To be honest, we didn't notice it was late. We just grabbed a table and started chatting.
That's fine.
I can vouch for him on that one, Mike, because I helped with that one and it did work very well. And all of you said that was a really good time that you had.
The late night, the cosplay cafe meet and greet thing. That again, you just left us in a room alone and we just made our own fun and it was just nice, you know. It was intimate, you know, it wasn't like them on a stage, us in the audience, it was we're around the table just chatting.
You felt you were all one?
Yeah.
Okay, that's good. That's some good feedback.
I mean, yeah, that's definitely appreciated. I mean, I think one thing we do definitely want to do for the VIP people is just make sure that they're looked after, you know, that it's actually worth paying for that extra membership at the end of the day, you know, because essentially you're paying that extra money to support the event, so the event should support you in return.
There is one thing I pointed out yesterday, because I did start a feedback thread on the forums for constructive feedback.
Yes, I think I saw that one. Yeah, no, that's really, really good to see, you know, at the end of the day. We always put feedback threads up after the event, because obviously we don't always have the time to actually put it on during the event, so, you know, that's really appreciated, and, you know, we'll be looking through that, definitely.
Yeah, so I started that, and the one thing I noticed yesterday was that you had the VIP gala at the same time as opening the dealer's room for VIPs. I think it was a bit of a mistake, just a little bit of a cock-up, shall we say?
Yeah, I mean, we do apologise for that. Unfortunately, we normally have the VIP gala on Sunday.
Oh, I much appreciated it on the Saturday. It was a much... Because sometimes people have to go home on Sunday.
The issue with that was Kira Buckland's not in on Sunday because she had to go home early, so we had to move the VIP gala to one day earlier.
We actually preferred that. We preferred having it on Saturday, but maybe like an hour later, so we can go to the dealer's room and then come over, because I think that's half the reason it started late.
Yeah. I mean, I think that's definitely a good idea. I think that's what we'll be doing next year, and I think to a certain extent, having the VIP gala on so early is probably detrimental, since, you know, everyone's like probably still a bit hungover and whatnot.
Yeah.
So
The same applies to Back in a Game Show.
I will hold my hands up. Like I had that timetable. I had to swap so many times, and people asked for specific times because they couldn't get into a certain time. I really should have just not put Back in a Game Show and put something else instead.
Yeah, never put Back in a Game Show in the morning. You've got to be drunk for that. You really have to be drunk for that.
Any more questions from any members of the audience? Any more advice yourself? I could bring it over to you.
In terms of the scheduling, I think that my biggest criticism for that would be having the cosplay masquerade the same time as some of the really key workshops. So it really divided people's attention. In terms of then the lineup and the final release of the schedule itself as well, a bit tight.
Yeah, I mean, I'm going to be upfront about the schedule. We're probably going to be looking to drastically change it next year with some of the timings, and indeed in some of the events which are running as well. I think, there was a few conflicts which were not helpful, and that's something which we're definitely it's not going to be the case next year. I think. Do you want to speak?
Sorry, just repeat that. So, just so everyone's aware, I'm actually making notes of what we got, so we can sort of go back over this later on. So, Masquerade was conflicting with what? Sorry.
I think it was
Several
Several
other events.
I think, off the top of my head.
And the lady down there feels like the event was the people divided by it. Sorry, the lady down there has just said that it clashed with several other
how
events,
to spin your
and
own
she
wool.
feels that people were divided by it.
Yeah, how to spin your own wool. So it was a good few
Yeah,
people that wanted to go to
that was obviously a cosplay workshop, so that's really going to split it. Sorry about that, guys. We're going to be pretty much revamping how we do the timetable next year, so we hopefully won't be seeing so many of those silly clashes like that. So yeah.
One thing regarding the timetable, these events in red?
Yes.
And it needs to be sort of like pointed out that they are where they are, because they're not in the lists. So we were really confused because we were with Kira and she didn't even know where she was going for her late night panel. So we know now that they're downstairs in the karaoke area, but we didn't know. So we were just sort of like hanging around waiting for someone to tell us where to go.
I think it hinges a lot on personal as well.
As a person on Reg Desk, I'd like to point out, as soon as we found out where the events were, we were telling every single attendee as they came in the main door, we've got this behind us, this is tabletop, this upstairs, because we really didn't want anyone to miss out on anything.
Yeah, I just want to kind of elaborate a small amount on that point. Is it just a suggestion of how to potentially improve that? I pretty much knew where it was because I've been to Alcon for more or less since its inception, really. But I think for newer guests, the way the timetable is structured, the bits in red might be a bit confusing. So perhaps maybe keep it the same, but also have a separate list for the details of the events in red, including things like areas and exact timings and that kind of thing. Just have that little bit of extra additional information so that people who haven't been coming for as long can be just as informed just as quickly.
Yeah, I mean, that's a great idea, and pretty much that's one of the reasons why we've got this panel here, We want to hear your input, we want to hear ideas, we want to hear how we can make the event better, and, that's certainly something which we'll be looking into.
You got a question? Bring it over to you, madam.
I have a suggestion for the dance floor, in the evening. In the furry conventions, they really keep the dance floor very cold, very ventilated. And I realized that that's actually very nice to dance in a cool room. I mean, one of the things they do is that on either side, they put up fans that are, they're about as tall as that stage right there. Just keep them going. But it's a furry convention, so of course it's for the fursuiters.
Yeah, because in here it has gotten sweltering hot in here.
Yeah.
I believe it was the SU that, because we've asked many times.
Yeah, I mean, that will certainly be something we'll be having a chat with the venue about after this. Obviously, we can only do so much on the day.
Do you take temperature readings?
We don't, it's
You
not...
should, because if you're going to raise the temperature point, you then let them know, look, this is the temperature that the room was at. It's unsustainable because, especially if you were working in an office environment, you wouldn't have staff there, so then having crowds of people is doubly worse.
That's certainly something we'll take on board, so...
Okay, I'm over to you, sir.
Any chance I can come back next year?
Sure. Can we have a big round of applause, please? Yeah, no, it was a great performance, so thank you very much for it. And yeah, I think what we'll do next year is we'll put you on it at a later time when there's more people to watch.
Here's a high five, man.
would you like to come as a guest player for tabletop with your on stage as well? The Metalhead Dungeon Master for Dungeons and Dragons, maybe?
I think, relating to timetable, yeah, I think you should have like gentle events in the morning, and they get heavier as you go along. You know, so have some like maybe a breakfast, just coffee and cake maybe or something in the morning. You know, just basically things to ease you into the day.
Yeah, I mean, I definitely agree. And to be honest, I'm not even sure there even should be stage events on before midday.
No.
Does that mean I can have a lion?
Yes, you can have a lion, yeah. There you go.
Just to clarify, I may have misunderstood you there, but when you were talking about things like breakfast events, maybe that could be part of the Maid Cafe, because that's always around for breakfast, and that does offer a few things like tea and juices and some like cake and snacks and such. So maybe if we combine the two and maybe just had a small little talk or whatever casual thing with the Maid Cafe, that would be a nice coupling of two existing events for infrastructure.
Yeah, I mean, that's something which we can look into, certainly. That's again, that's a good idea.
Yeah,
in regards to that as well, the maybe a breakfast thing and stuff in the mornings, would you like some tabletop games maybe included with this as well?
Yeah.
Nice, lovely, simple 2-3 player games.
So pretty much a tabletop breakfast.
Tabletop breakfast.
Yeah, when we've been open tabletop early in the morning, 10 o'clock, we do tend to get quite a lot of people in, so it might be worth looking at doing again if people are mentioning that specifically. It does work, very definitely.
10 o'clock. Yeah, well, thank you for that. We'll take that on board right now.
Just on another note, in previous conventions that I've been to at Alcon, that there used to be the breakfast club where you turned up for breakfast and there was an anime running in the background while you sat on it, which was cereals, toast that you made yourself, sort of thing, sort of self-service buffet sort of thing.
As a larger guy, I can appreciate the breakfast portion to this conversation. I really can, but yeah, I totally agree with you, and yeah, the main thing is, as long as you're having fun at this, and it's a nice event to ease you into the day, I think the anime in the background could be incorporated, would be a lovely idea as well, since it is an anime convention.
Just to put an idea in as well is you could do the stage on the stage here. You could have before 12 o'clock just to have maybe the Q&As or the panels here, just so it's like easy and it's anyone just talk if they want to go and do that instead of having to go all the way from say here to Queens and then back again. Instead of having that, if that's better or worse, I don't know.
Yeah, I think we could certainly do something like that. Maybe just don't start the panels in the Queens till 12, and we could probably have them here. So yeah, that'd probably be a good idea. Yeah.
Yeah, I've been to Alcon a couple of times, but this must be the worst one I've been to so far. Everything is lacking, like information, what room's going on. Like the guidebooks, not too much detail in there, and also like getting like points for your clans are lacking as well. So I think we need like more clans, like trying to get more points for your clans. Also like we need like more information, especially on the doors. So because I've been here so many times and this is the worst one. Like last time I've been here, like everything was really fun and exciting, but like I know like Akemi could not come this year, so that was a bit sad. But I understand, but it seems to be really lacking this year.
Okay, well, I mean, first and foremost, I apologise, that it hasn't been as good for you as previous years. With regards to your points and whatnot, the clans, I think we're certainly looking towards in future years having a much bigger clan presence. I mean, even simple touches such as ninja, vampire, pirate leaders having actual outfits to wear so people know who they are and so forth is something which we're going to be doing. in terms of the signage, we had an issue with the signage actually arriving because we're getting printed at the printers. Obviously, that's not really an excuse, but that was difficult. In terms of other stuff, there has been a staff shortage for this year as well, which has unfortunately made things a bit more difficult to run things as we would like to run things. We will be going on a recruitment drive over the next 12 months, not just for staff, for more attendees as well. We're going to really be pushing for next year, and we're probably going to be looking at even a rebrand, to be honest, a new logo, new mascots, and basically trying to really freshen everything up for next year. I think, you know, the time has come, you know, it's to, you know, really start moving things forward, you know, and yeah, pretty much revive stuff, yeah.
There's two things I'll add to this point. The first one is we've had tremendous feedback from the Assassins front, and I'm going to be pushing to incorporate the Assassins concept into the clan, because we've got 3 Assassins team, 3 clans. It just seems logical. So we can do that, and that will help the community in terms of the game plan sorted. The other thing is we are planning to sort of do a bit more of a community drive this next year, as Mike's already sort of alluded towards. In fact, at 3 o'clock today, we do have a community panel workshop, which I shall be leading. And the idea is we all sit around in the panels upstairs, well, in the other building and upstairs, and we sort of just hammer out some ideas and sort of throw some ideas around and sort of just say, hey, how can we make this better for you guys? So we have that. That'll be at Queen's Building at 3 o'clock. So if you want to help us make this better for everyone, do come along, because it is important. We can't do this alone. We need help.
I just want to give a bit of feedback in regards to the Cards Against Alcon event that happened on the Thursday. In previous years, it's been quite a big panel event, quite a popular thing, and random people from the audience will be chosen for a couple of rounds and swap out. But this year, I only found out when it was beginning that it was being hosted online, and that we needed to get in the room and then leave it, and then, you know, get back in because of the issues with setting it up. And my primary point in this feedback is that perhaps next year, if this is to be doing the same thing and we're having it online, perhaps tell people that in advance and maybe try and set up the room in advance before it starts, so that we can maybe have a few test runs and make sure it's all going well.
Well, it originally was going to be table and the original cards, but then shortly we had the idea, it was like, wait, you can do it online. Oh, we can have it on the big screen and everyone can join in. Steve and I did not know the original website got taken down, so we were like trying to find a new website.
Was it literally 2 days ago it got
taken
down?
It was 2 days ago it got taken down, so we were trying to find a new website, because we thought it would be nice to have it on the big screen and everyone can join in, because we are trying to get like streaming on stage, so when there are like little things that you can't really see, so you can see it on the big screen, but we're still in the works about that. We might try it again online, but if it causes problems like it did last time at any other event, not just Alcon, if we do it at another event, we'll probably just stick to cards, because, you know, paper-based is always good, never trust technology.
Just on that front about scheduling, when I printed off the prior schedule, just so I can have it handed around before I came, and I noticed that it was only on Thursday when I actually got the new schedule that Cards Against Alcon had been rearranged to Thursday. It was supposed to be on Friday or Saturday, and it's like last minute changes like that can sometimes go, oh, I was planning to do this.
Yeah, that was a last minute change, unfortunately. Again, we're doing our best to ensure, you know, that the timetable is much more on the ball for next year, so, you know, hopefully that won't happen.
I will be honest, when we did the convert, I should have updated the Google Docs, but I just completely forgot. That's just my bad.
Yeah, I mean, next year we are going to bring back the creation of the timetables a good month or two beforehand, and actually, you know, flush out all these little mistakes and problems up front. So that is how we're going to approach that front.
So I've been listening to the feedback about scheduling, late timetable changes, and I think a big problem is there's not been much social media presence today to let attendees know what's going on. I think we've all got Twitter on our phones and stuff like that, so this stuff can easily be broadcast out to the entire con. So I think when there are last minute changes and things like that, and just events of what's going on, I saw on Facebook today there was a My Hero Academia photo shoot that I had no idea was going on. I've been cosplaying as Shigaraki for the last 2 days, so if I'd known that was going on, I would have made an effort to attend. But yeah, I just think if you grip the right for social media this year, I think you could have broadcast these issues out to a lot more people.
Yeah, I mean, I 100% agree with you. The main issue which we had with that is that, again, it's due to the lack of staffing this year, unfortunately, which again we're going to be resolving for next year. And it basically, you could have 2 people running social media across the event, and that's the ideal, that's what we want. But if those 2 people could instead be used to, for example, actually do critical functions to actually make the event run, then you have to make a decision, unfortunately. But you know, that will definitely be different next year. We've actually got a few ideas to also work on it as well, in terms of actually making sure people are more better communicating, more than just social media. We're thinking of adding QR codes onto the com books. So basically, you know, you can snap the QR code in the com book or go to a specific link, and it will actually show a live update of all the changes, all the announcements, any timetable changes, etc., etc. So then you'll be completely in the loop with anything that's being announced, and so you don't have to go through Twitter, go through Facebook, you know, looking and trying to read the updates from there. Can we take the lady at the front, please?
I'd like to say, just on behalf of the registrations desk, as soon as we become aware of any changes to the timetable, we will inform the attendees that are coming past that changes have been made as well. But sometimes communication does take a while to get down the chain. But as soon as we know, we've been informing as many people as we can. So I'm sorry if you have missed some of our updates as well. We will try, to improve as much as we can.
I've got 2 questions. So the first one is, in terms of the community panel, is there any possibility that it can be moved after the Jolly Boat at 3 o'clock? Like, it's the clash?
Okay. This is exactly the problem with the sort of the discoordination of the timetables that we need to get sorted. It's very important we do, because Jolly Boat is it's one of our top events, really. We are running for 2 hours. Jolly Boat is for an hour, and it's going to be a drop-in, drop-out session. So at least that sort of covers that. So we'll be running from 3 to 5 o'clock. So
it doesn't say that here.
Yeah, it's been extended.
Yeah. I don't mind overrunning because we've got nothing else to happen. Yeah.
So the short answer to that is yes.
Okay. And the second one, and this is going to be a bit of a bombshell, so brace yourself. In terms of rumors, and this is some of my critical feedback to you, I think that in terms of being someone watching from the outside, because I don't post very often, deletion of comments is not ideal. It makes people feel alienated. It actually creates a bigger problem than it solves, because rather than allowing people to then whisper in the background about what they think it could be, what it should have been, what it could have been, what it was, just say, media release, this is what's happened, we're aware this is what's happened, blah, 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 cut it short. So at least then you've said what you had to say. People know that there's an official statement. If they then want to whisper it, you can always refer back to the original, rather than deleting things off and then people then go running riot. Because I've heard so many rumors just here alone.
Yeah, I mean, we do our best to, ensure that we delete as few comments as possible. I mean, that's certainly some advice we'll take on board.
Don't delete anything. The big corporations don't do it, you shouldn't do it either. You should think of yourself as that brand.
There is some stuff which has to be deleted. So, for example, there was a post that was made last night by someone that was basically mocking disability.
Yes.
That has to go.
Yes.
There are always going to be posts that have to be deleted. Whether we get the balance right or not is another matter, and something which we'll be looking into. So I thank you for that.
It's interesting that was deleted and yet still people are talking about it. That's the sort of thing that I'm talking about. Because even though that was deleted, the deletion itself caused rumor.
Yeah, again, there's no easy way of doing it. That's part of the reason for these panels, so that we can, you guys can come here, we can say, okay, yep, this is the case, and basically just talk it out.
Would locking threads instead be a better option than deleting? Would you say? Because
not when it locks disability. Not those kind of posts.
So that's this post did not follow our rules and was making an obscene comment, therefore we've deleted it. Something that explains why we deleted it.
I think looking into all of these options, would be wise for us to look at all of them and then decide what we're going to do, and then inform everyone what our policy will be on.
It seems like we need to get 2 members of staff, Mike, that when they're at Con, because where Mel is doing that and this, these 2 members of staff are online 24/7, going through, checking, and that's their specialist job, like an IT department for AL.
Again, this also comes back somewhat to the lack of staffing issue at this event, which again we're going to be sorting out for next year. There hasn't been a dedicated social media team, so it's had to be done ad hoc. So sometimes it's not going to be done the best way because it's having to be rushed. I mean, there's no easier way to say it than that. So I hope you appreciate that, you can understand that.
Okay, I have a question as well. I'm just speaking on behalf really of the artists that came to sell their work. I think they were treated quite appalling. They were let in quite late, and they didn't really have very much chance to give any feedback, so I'd like to represent them, really.
Sure, I mean, if you could just go through the main issues, then I'm more than happy to discuss that.
Just time, where they were set up. They were meant to be in different buildings, and they were shoved away in like a corner, really forgotten about. I just don't think it was very well run.
Okay, I'm not particularly 100% aware of the situation, but I'll speak to our head of operations and get back to you on that one. We always do our best to ensure, that artists are looked after, and indeed dealers are looked after in general. So, I mean, if you could basically speak to me afterwards, and we'll go through those issues, and I'll get our head of operations over, and ensure that it's not repeated for next year. I think at the end of the day, it's if stuff is not being communicated correctly, or there's confusion over that, or it's then obviously it's not how we want to be treating our paying artists at the end of the day. So yeah.
Another thing I'd like to bring up as well, myself and my partner actually handed out some flyers. It was about 1,000 flyers in total, and we were promised that we'd get a free t-shirt at the event, and nothing was actually said about the t-shirt.
You should have. So if you again, we can have a chat afterwards. I'll take you downstairs to registrations, and we can make sure that gets sorted for you. So I do apologise. That's clearly.
I'll be happy to sort that out for you after the panel on registrations.
Just one last comment to make about this. This is us sort of just trying to fob you off and sort of see a good answers. We hear your concern, that whole usual social bollocks. This is, artists is important to us. They're part of our blood. If we lose them or downsize something, it's not good. So we need to get it sorted. So talk to Mike and James. We will get this sorted.
I have 2 things. First of all, in previous Alcons, that room in there has been in use. Is there a very good reason it's not in use anymore?
So you're more than welcome to go through there, but I'm sure you've noticed the number of attendees is not fantastic. There's only so much we can do with regards to that, but you're more than welcome to go through there. It's just that it's easier. I guess people are sort of more congregating in here since it's busy in here.
Okay. Second thing to say is you seem to be having trouble with, the size of the convention compared to the staff. So I'm just thinking if you need to, maybe the good idea is to basically downsize a bit until you can manage what you have instead of biting off more than you can chew. It's not that I want the convention to get smaller, it's just that a well-run convention is better than a big one.
Yeah, I mean, in terms of staff, I don't foresee an issue next year. It's just something which we will be getting on in terms of recruitment pretty much now for next year. So it's just, unfortunately, it's one of those issues that we didn't see coming until, well, we realised there wasn't enough staff.
I mean, normally, the way these sort of things, conventions usually run is that the number of volunteers is usually a percentage of the attendees. So, you know, I don't think the ratios, but it's usually like 5% volunteers, something like that. So that percentage was obviously lower. And this is why, with the help of having community workshops and actually improving that, we can actually get people more engaged and willing to help out and actually sort of take this forward and actually feel like they gain something out of that as volunteering. So we're hoping to push this one and actually get it sorted for next year.
So, as people have been talking, I've come up with 2 points. I know Bede's closed this year, but I actually really appreciate that registrations have been downstairs in the hallway. I think that's a lot more accessible to everyone, especially those that aren't doing accommodation, and it's easier to find. Like, if you suddenly, turn up in the SU and go, oh, where do I go to ask a question or whatnot, and you're told to go all the way down to Bede, no one wants to do that. So I actually really appreciate that they've been moved to downstairs.
Yeah, I could say for next year we'll be keeping it in its current location. It's made the event a lot easier to run, and I think everyone's found it a lot more convenient. So thank you for your feedback.
And number 2 was regarding the dealers' halls and everything. There's a lot of people I spoke to on Friday expecting the dealers to be open on Friday. I don't care about the issues really. I mean, there's issues with counts, I don't know, but people were expecting there to be dealers on Friday and there weren't, so there's quite a few disappointments. Even the dealers last year said they turned up on Friday and were told they couldn't set up. I don't know what the issue is behind that, but I really think you need to get it sorted so you can have dealers on Fridays.
I mean, we'll either be doing that or we'll make it a lot more clearer that there are going to be no dealers on Fridays. So, again, this is a matter of communication. We're going to be probably revamping the Alcon website for next year as well. So again, matters such as no dealers on Friday will be much more clearly communicated beforehand.
Mike, it's also worth to mention that from what I understand, there is actually a legal matter about having 3 days of trading in Leicester due to is a council law that you need certain licences for multiple days, more than 2 days trading. So we've got a licence for 2 days, but we are sort of handicapped by regulations like that. I mean, we will see what we can do, see if we can talk to the council and actually get an upgraded licence.
Yeah, I heard it was a licence issue. I don't know if it was just a case of paying for the extra day.
Shall we take
Sorry about that.
So, on the staffing front and the drive to get new staff, this year I very much noticed that there's been considerable information flow problems to the staff, from the staff. At bare minimum, every staff member should know where they're supposed to be, how long they're supposed to be there for, what they're supposed to be doing, and how to get in touch with their superior at all times, and that's really not been the case. I feel that, especially with new team leaders, then you need to have a structure that they can take and then adjust to their staff's group's needs. And having that down in paper would be really helpful. And I think it'd make bootstrapping up new team leaders a lot easier, and I think the staff would also really appreciate it. So getting that process documented is something you really need to do if you're going to be doing that drive.
Well, it's a good point, Purple. I mean, this is obviously pushing towards fitness. We were talking about this because it was sort of my mess up. This is one of my first cons I've actually sort of run. I've only done 4 events as team leader. So I'm still getting my feet in every single time, a lot more experience. And yes, Thursday was a little bit of a mess up for me and my staff, but Friday and Saturday we're getting a lot better. I'm taking it personally, man.
And generally having that process documented, I think will make it a lot smoother.
In terms of which particular processes, sorry, I mean, we just have a bit of
clarification. Could you?
Yeah, back to him.
Sorry, what was that?
Sorry, which particular processes?
Basically, like how you communicate information with your staff. Like the whole setup things, like scheduling, things like that. Having like something documented that a team leader can just sit down and look at and refer back to, instead of constantly asking you.
Yeah.
I think that's going to be really helpful for the future.
Documentation is probably best to ask Red Hat about, so I should pass the microphone over.
Yeah, I actually did document like our setup times and things and sent them to the team leaders, and I did communicate that. We also communicate break times and where they should be and what times we need them to be there, and we do adjust it for the day. Sometimes it doesn't always go that way, we're busy, but we do our best there. So, Purple, you do know our processes, so what do you suggest we improve?
I genuinely think the primary thing is get it documented, get it written out. Like I did with the TG one when I handed over to Richard. Get like proper documents like that sorted with a checklist that people can go through so they know they've got everything. I think that, like for team leaders, that's going to be really helpful. And then also, like, look at ways of communicating. Google Drive's really good, things like that, because you can sort of live update. Make sure like the team leaders are active in their team chats, like throughout the convention. Make sure everyone's got your number, that kind of thing. Just make sure you've got a list you can refer back to, because otherwise you end up missing things and you end up with no one turning up to ops at 10 o'clock on Saturday.
I saw your documentation, it's good. Just so everyone's aware, Purple was tabletop RPG head before me, so for last Alcon. Due to other work commitments, he's had to sort of take more of the back seat, but he's obviously sort of
I mean, I have access to the documents, so I can show it to you guys to see how Purple's done it, and kind of like figure it out from that, and maybe expand it to other teams, not just our team, but to the other teams, because I think that's a really good idea personally.
By the way, Laura there is in our team as well, so...
A quick warning though, a mandatory process is not going to work. It needs to be something that they can use as a framework and then adjust to their team's needs. But I think having that there would make it a lot easier to head these problems off before they even start.
I think it is a good idea to communicate more with every team member and every team what we need them to do. I mean, it's not always explained. When I used to run registrations, I had a document which I sent everyone, and I went through it in the briefing. And Liz does a similar procedure as well, now that she's running it. Other teams don't have that particular document in place, so maybe they do need it.
Let's talk about accommodation. There have been moans and complaints and moaning about no shower curtains, no kettles in the room, the bedding not being changed, the rooms not being cleaned, cobwebs all over the place, pee stains in the toilets. I mean, really, we're paying money, and I know we're getting it subsidized, but, when the students leave, I would expect, just like we have to pay our deposits, they would too, that the place get a little wiped down before we come in, because it's been horrendous.
Yeah, I mean, we have had a lot of complaints about the state of some of the accommodation rooms this year, unfortunately. It's one of those things which we'll be speaking to Liberty about, the people that run the halls of residence. Generally speaking, what I would say is that if you do see any of this, you go straight to the Liberty reception, tell them, and get them to sort it. If they do not sort it for any reason, come to us and we will speak to them.
And that was some of the problems that we had, because had it not been a group of us going, can we have clean bedding? They were not going to give it to us. For example, can we have an extra pillow? No, we don't do that. Can we get our sheets clean? They're not clean, they're dusty, whatever. We were told, yes, we'll do it, and then it never materialized, and we ended up talking to security.
Okay, yeah, I mean, I do apologise for the issues which you...
I mean, it's not you, but I mean, in terms of, I'm sure this is not the first time it's happened.
I mean, we will be speaking with Liberty properly after this about how, this cannot be repeated for next year in terms of the state of some of the rooms. We have done our best to speak to the people that are actually at reception at Liberty and so forth during this event to resolve issues when it's brought to our attention. So again, what I would say is, any of these kind of issues, do come to us about it if Liberty ignore it, and we will go and sort it out with them ourselves.
Just a quick question to you, Mike, on this one. In terms of saying come to us, is there a particular, can we get like a sort of a place, a point of contact? Would it be best to say come to registrations?
Yeah, registrations.
And they will
registrations.
push it through. Is that the best thing to say rather than just say come to us? Because come to us can mean come to Tabletop, go to Mel, go to Red Hat. It means very...
Just to clarify, when I say come to us, it's generally speaking come to registrations. That's the central point. That's our help desk. If all of you look on the back of your com badges, you'll see that there's a phone number on there as well. So if for any reason, obviously Liberty and you've got this problem and so forth, and it's you don't want to walk all the way after registrations, give that number a call. Say it's after 10 o'clock, then just give that number a call, and then we will do our best to try and sort whatever issue you have, whatever issue there is for you.
Anybody else with a question? Oh, you at the back of the room, you haven't spoken yet.
You kind of need to get more guests in, and maybe bigger guests as well.
Sorry, I can't quite hear you. Could you?
Okay. Okay, you need to get more guests in, and maybe bigger names as well. Because I think it's been the same people each year, and whilst we love them and all, it's nice to see some viral.
Yeah, I mean, we're doing our best to try and get better guests in and whatnot. I mean, the number of Mel, bless her, she must have approached over 30 different voice actors to try and get a guest for Alcon this year. There were so many clashing schedules with guests at other events and so forth. And it was, but it's certainly something which we'll be doing our best to get straight on for next year. So,
I can vouch for him on this one because we did have the actress Jed Saxton booked, but unfortunately she had to report Mike that she was clashed and couldn't do it. So that's why Mike at the last minute and Mel had to try and find a replacement. So and that was a disappointment. So, but he did have Jed Saxton from Funimation was going to be here this year, but sadly.
And that was arranged over 6 months ago as well. So.
Yeah. So you have a continuation to the question.
I'll just finish off another point to that point. Yes, this year we are starting to try and diversify our guest portfolio. In fact, we had 2 comedians in yesterday, so we are trying to give them more variety, more interesting selection.
Did any of you guys see the comedians we had in yesterday?
I'd just like to say I was really impressed to see the comedy hour on Bill. It was really nice to see something new, and I really appreciate it.
Cool. I'm going to try and push to sort of try and get some more. Those 2 are 2 comedians who work in Fringe, and I know them personally.
Well, following on from the thing that I had earlier, it was kind of when you're getting the guests as well, you need if they're part of a group, you need more of the group to come along so they can bounce off each other and play up the banter. Had X and Clevo, the banter was really good. You just need more banter to get more people in. Their panel was packed out yesterday.
Yeah, I mean, again, that's something which we're going to be doing our best. If any of you have got guest suggestions, ideas, contacts, which is even more useful, as in you actually know them personally, or know people who do know them personally, please do get in touch with us. It makes it so much easier.
Go ahead at the back.
I'm sorry, I do apologize.
He's had his hand up for a long while.
Sorry about that.
I've got you.
No, I completely. Thank you. It's just little things like I've noticed some of the signs around the panels are 2 minutes done. If you could do them in their own logos as the logo of Alcon, that would be okay. You can tell people where they are, rather than just oh, this is a panel, this is, if you go past here's the panel, or here's cafe or whatever, rather than just going, it's a sort of crayon could be thought over a pen, quick fire. It's understand what I'm getting at, I hope.
Yeah, we're definitely going to be making our signage a lot better for next year. So, yeah.
That was a previous, not criticism of that. We did sort of discuss at the front, and as you said, you just sort of come up again. So it is very important to get signage because I went down to Queensburg myself when someone asked me, where's the one piece of bridge panel? I was like, I don't know. So not only should we get better signage, but all the teams should have a walk around the venue beforehand just to make sure that everyone is aware. So we can say, yeah, do that, yeah, go over there, down there and across, or at the very least, go talk to this person, they know exactly where it is.
Yeah, quickly on the signs front, at least 2 teams have printers. I think partly again this is an information thing. If people don't know that the other team has a printer and like some templates and stuff on the Dropbox, if people don't know about those, they can't use them. So again, information flow I think is a big chunk of that, because like the team VG could easily have used the tabletop or Reg's printer and whipped up something that would have looked a bit more professional. It's just if they didn't know about it, then they can't do that.
No, she has. Oh, sorry. See, I've got you.
So, just in case you don't already do this, it's a good idea that if you reach out and get a hold of other people who run different conventions and talk to them about how they handle different things, just as a general piece of advice.
I can take this one. As you know, I've been deputying on the reg desk. I probably put wristbands on quite a lot of you that came in. I've seen everyone in the face past my desk at least 3 times. I'd just like to say I volunteer at about 4 different conventions other than Animeleague as well, and I'm constantly finding out new things, new techniques, and I'm personally constantly relaying them in, and the amount that has been taken on board in the last year alone is absolutely crazy. And I'd just like to say that we are always constantly trying to improve, our staffing experience, our user experience for you guys. And I'd just like you to know that.
That's a very good point, James. I mean, we're sort of, I'm behind the curve in years. I've only been doing this is probably my 5th convention I helped out on. Did a lot of the LAGCs and the AGCs across the country. But I ended up, this is my 5th one. So, as he says, you're constantly evolving and sort of changing, learning more techniques and everything. So it's about refining techniques and sort of trying them out. And
what about the international ones? Because I've heard a few people talk about Holland and the conventions they've got there. I can reach out and see what they do. I know sometimes there's a lot of, we've got the international.
Yeah, I mean, that's definitely a good idea. I think, just actually to elaborate on that, that's actually a good idea. I do know that quite a few international conventions do quite different events on stage, for example. Yeah, so I mean, in terms of actually revamping our timetable lineup for next year, that's something which we are actually going to look into. So again, that's a really good suggestion.
An extension on that, I'm actually sort of, I was planning to actually go to the German board gaming convention, the one in Germany.
Spiel.
Exactly, one of the biggest ones.
For everyone who doesn't speak German, it's the Food Games Festival.
But it's actually massive, so I'm going to try and do sort of a bit more of a, sort of just try and get a bit more knowledge exposure to conventions and sort of try and see what I can get back in to here.
And, well, if all of these conventions that you're learning from, if all of them are anime conventions, it's also a good idea to branch out and get science fiction conventions and reptile enthusiast conventions.
Definitely.
Whatever it is.
Yeah, I mean. Again, definitely. Yeah.
I just wanted to elaborate on the previous point about the lack of name recognition guests this year. In previous years, most of the recent years, we've had the now former Channel Awesome producers based in the UK and maybe 1 or 2 based in the US coming to Alcon and holding a panel, but they seem to be absent this year. I don't know if they were not invited or they just were unable to come or what the reason was, but I just noticed their distinct absence, and that was, I think, it could be a potentially big draw for Alcon to see them to come back.
Yeah, I mean, definitely. I mean, we did get in touch with them. Unfortunately, there was scheduling issues, so they weren't able to make it. But we're doing our best to bring them back for next year. So again, we can only do our best when it comes to guests. If there are other events or they've got other commitments on,
then you know there's only so much we can do. But we will again be looking at bringing in different types of guests, more guests, and so forth.
How far in advance do you plan?
We plan pretty much at least a year in advance, so we're already looking towards Alcon 2019. We've got a rough date in mind. We're just waiting back for confirmation from the venue, just on those dates, and then pretty much we'll be getting ball rolling. So pretty much the answer is pretty much from now.
I mean, just extend on 2 points. The first one about how far we plan in advance. Obviously, certain things we sort of pushed off to the end, like for example the timetable we do in the back quarter. So certain things we need to bring forwards up front. The venue locations you had booked way in advance, so we start putting things back a bit. And back to your previous point.
I mean, in one way, you could actually look at this feedback panel as actually part of the planning.
It's a learning experience.
Because essentially, a lot of you guys have had some really good ideas, some really good suggestions. So thank you all for that. You know, I think this has been a really positive panel, you know, and I can see that all of you here want, you know, to help us, which is fantastic. So.
Well, 1 second.
I just want to say very, very quickly, perhaps just add like a little note on the timetable saying, please allow 5-10 minutes leeway per event to set up, and that might give people a little bit of reassurance about potential extra setup time if needed for any given event.
That's not a bad idea, and that's certainly something we could put on the very first page of the keynote. So, yeah, I mean, again, basic information like that. Which, I mean, obviously to us, from our end, it looks obvious to us, but it's not obvious to the attendees. So, you know, having your perspective is really important.
I believe the gentleman with the microphone just here has been waiting patiently now for about 5 minutes.
I was just wondering, I know a lot of crew members got mobile phones, but personally, I think it's better to take it back to basic levels and use walkie-talkies. At least one crew member don't know the answer to it. At least the contact other crew members with the walkie-talkies to get more information, because I know a lot of crew members don't have time to answer the phones. At least they had walkie-talkies on their side, able to answer the questions quicker than a mobile phone.
I have my walkie-talkie right here, sir.
I just wanted to...
You'd like to see more crew members with them on their sides, ready to go instead of mobile phones and such.
Yeah, again, that's something which we're going to be looking into for next year. We had 12 walkie-talkies for this event. Maybe we should get some more. So again, thank you. That's something we'll definitely take on board.
I just wanted to chip in. I work at a care home, and one time we considered using walkie-talkies for when we're coordinating in the event of a fire. It went horribly. The walkie-talkies were just, it did not work. They were buggy, they were faulty. Even when they did work, it wasn't great. And if you can't get 12 people to communicate, for 4 of us to be able to communicate in the same building with walkie-talkies, I really, really do not advise you use walkie-talkies.
I would use ham radio walkie-talkies, the upper market, if you were going to use them, Mike. And I've got someone I can show you later.
Thank you.
Just a good bit of feedback. I really enjoyed that you organised some escape rooms this year. That was great fun. I really enjoyed it. I know there wasn't that many of us that went, but...
Did you escape them?
Sorry?
Did you manage to escape?
Yes.
We did.
With 57 seconds to spare.
And our team got 6 minutes.
Yeah. But no, I really enjoyed that, and it's a good thing to add along with the laser quest. I quite like those outing kind of events.
We'll try and make it harder for next year.
So yeah, I really enjoyed that. Thank you very much for organising.
Here's the kicker on that one, the extension. We were talking afterwards. We got a 20% discount to use it, but
closer to the night to do it.
We got a 20% discount to use it on the. We were sort of planning to do another escape room on Saturday and Sunday. I was trying to organise it, but it's hard to coordinate loads of people, and there was like not enough availability on Saturday. It was like a 2:30 slot, so I had to basically say no, we're not going to go for a second one. But it was so popular. I think it's worth having one of these things per day, either laser quest or walking escape rooms, like escape rooms, laser quest, and escape rooms. It's such a easy and fun social experience for people.
Okay, guys, we're slightly overrunning, so we'll take 3 more questions and then we'll wrap this up. So,
just hinging on the escape room and laser quest. I think in terms of having them and the availability was good, but considering the amount of crowd that we have, surely we could push a bit more on the discount for more people. Because, to be honest with you, we could easily overrun the place if we so choose.
Yeah, I mean, that's certainly something we can have a chat with them about and, you know, see what we can do. So, yeah.
Because I think a lot of people didn't go because of the price.
Yeah. Well, you got to bear in mind the escape room. When we
If we were all Groupon discounts, for example, they still have to give it to them. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah, definitely.
we were in peak time, that was the trouble. It was before 5 o'clock, it's off peak time. Post 5, it was. When I was there, I was actually eyeing the price and going, have we got a good price or not? That's what I was doing mentally, but we did get a discount, but it would be nice to sort of push them and say, well, okay, you know, sort of play hardball. Well, I'm going to try and play hardball.
Should we move on
one.
to the next question now? Okay. Sorry, we've got to try and.
Hi, could I just suggest some more icebreaker events and maybe a quiet chill out area just for people to relax and calm down sort of thing?
The irony is, next door is kind of meant to be a chill out area. It's just that people haven't really utilised it. Maybe we can actually look towards
Maybe
actually doing
have
some
some
signage. Yeah, maybe, yeah.
Can I just say something? If you're in accommodation, there is actually a really great chill out area if you haven't utilised it. There is a bunch of really comfy sofas, there's pool tables, there's air hockey. But for people that are, there is at least that. Most people do not know about that. When I've went in there, it's been empty, not a single soul. Common room, you know when you go up the stairs, there's laundry room, there's common room, and then there's stairs to get up onto the courtyard. Have a look as you walk up the stairs.
We discovered it last night. Me and Laura.
We discovered it last night, so... But if you look for that, it's there. It's just nobody's noticed. Did you know there's also a gym you could use in there? Oh, exactly.
Well, those guns.
Yeah, I mean, again, this, yeah. Should we quickly move on to the next question, guys? Because we are really out of time.
One more question.
Okay, I'll wrap it up with. There's been a lot of great feedback on this. We are, as I said before, we are doing a community workshop at 3 to 5, and I can sort of bring a few more ideas about common rooms and that kind of stuff, how to improve the conventions, as well as how to actually get more of a community spirit going. So please do come to that. You know, we'll be doing that. So it's the opportunity for us to work together on this.
James?
Right, fantastic. Right, what I'd like to do is, on behalf of tabletop registrations, everyone in this building, I'd like to say, everyone who's came here today, if you really didn't give a flying what's it about this convention and the AgSeeds and all the others, you wouldn't have came and given you questions, suggestions, criticisms and stuff today. And personally, I'd like to thank you. You guys are the absolute lifeblood of this convention, because if you didn't turn up, I'd be on the front desk for 4 days looking like a pillar while security stares at me.
Definitely. So thank you very much, guys. Give yourself a big round of applause. Okay. Right, we're going to be taking all this on board, and we're going to be working as best as we can to make the next event as good as it can be. So thank you very much. And
thank you very much, guys.
Enjoy the rest of your day. We'll see you around the convention.
I'll see you downstairs, hopefully.